Off safely?
Yeah, sure did.
Outstanding. Well, enjoy it, and safe travels for you guys. 2 months. So we're gonna play a little Where's Roger coming up, and we'll just have to get the updates on where you are.
I'll give you hints. So, okay. Take care,
All
everybody.
right. Take care, Roger. Good to see you.
Yeah, man.
There's Terry hiding in the shadows. He's got his overalls on today. He must have been working.
I'm doing a lot of work today.
Did ya?
Yeah, no good deed goes unpunished. Uh,
That's
So-
for sure.
so I go out to get in the car, get the garage door opener, zig 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 zig. So $160 later, we got that fixed. Last night I took the dog to the vet, have his gut looked at. I think he's better now. $360.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it keeps on. And then go into the bathroom, and Dina's got the top off of the tank because it's playing with. I fixed that real quick, but some days
Man,
you're just like that.
they are. And one thing leads to the next, right? So you start on one project.
Yeah. Well, I saw where Sun Tao was on a South Platte catching some big fish.
I have never seen where he doesn't catch big fish. He's
That's because he uses dynamite.
All right, well,
wait, we don't, it's okay. Yeah, I don't know what he does, but when you also listen to him about techniques and different things that he does in regards to 2 and 3 flies, it really is, it's an effective way to fish, but you figure they're kind of interested in the first fly that you have on. They're more interested in the second fly, and they usually nail that third one. But his flies are absolutely, I mean, and I had a couple questions afterwards, and people were asking, saying, how do you know him, and how long's he been tying and everything? And again, he came in as a participant, so that's the pretty stunning part of it, where you figure he didn't know this 6 years ago. He knew nothing about this, but it seemed to grab him, and then he just went crazy with it. But it is remarkable in that part of it, and I thoroughly enjoy listening to him. I hope he has plans to. He's done his 20 as of December, and I think then we'll see him retired. But who knows? Then he'll just take over the flying world. He's just incredible, and everywhere he goes, it's fish like that. It's not just because he's Indiana, and then all the different places that he's been. But he's either got that or the best camera angle ever. He holds them all. One of the times when we were talking, I accused him of the same fish, and he kept changing shirts because it always looked like the same gigantic fish.
Yeah.
And I said, you have a lot of shirts. You just keep changing shirts. But nope, he fishes like that. And he's not really connected. He's in the Colorado Springs area, but he's not really connected with that program quite yet. He's offered a couple times, but obviously when he was there and different things with the shutdown, that was kind of, he hasn't been able to connect with folks personally. So he did thoroughly enjoy being able to see all of us. So that was cool.
Yeah.
But all right, well, Mick, it looks like kind of a short one, which, I mean, again, we can either fish talking. I'm happy to do a caddis. We met up on Saturday at a lake that Dave Witt had suggested, and it's really easy to get to from highway access. There's John. And it was just really, it was just very enjoyable, and it's accessible. And then I went back on on Sunday even, just because I hadn't had enough of it. So I went back and gave it a couple more tries. And one of the things that was coming up is everybody was successful on the flies they were using. And so that's the kind of lake I like, is where you can try up different things, switch up your patterns, try different options. And so it was everything from dry flies, it was hopper droppers, it was 2 dry flies. Dave, you were fishing your 10-carat rod and you had luck with that. So it really, very, very nice. And for some, 15 minutes away, others, an hour, but it's good clean water, and it's a stock lake. So that was fun on Saturday. And we've got more, and more news is coming as of Wednesday night. So we're not back fully, but it's some positive things that are coming. So the program leads and assistant program leads who are on our call, I encourage you to hop on Wednesday night for the sector call and get the updates. But it is finally some more positive changes. We won't be in phase 4 yet, but some good things are happening. So again, if you're a lead or an assistant lead, please be on those calls, and we'll get through it. But other than that, it's fun to do the little get-togethers. So hello, John, I see you. You look all ready to take off there.
Oh no, I'm just playing.
But doesn't he look? He just looks
Yeah.
like he's just settled in. He just looks all. He's like,
Hey.
yeah.
This is the way I looked for over 22 years in the cockpit.
That's
of an
what I'm
airplane,
saying.
You
You
know,
just
I
look
mean,
like-
got the whole bit here.
Yep. Put the
Hey,
whole
would you send me the,
thing
would you
on.
send me the link to that meeting Wednesday night, please?
I will. Yep. And definitely. And again, it's nothing earth shaking, but I think it definitely, it increases our sizes of groups that are able to get together, which is the big thing. It does come into play in regards to who's had vaccinations and who hasn't. But that's about as much. We're not asking folks in regards to, we can't take a picture and keep track of who's doing that. That's a whole violation thing. But it's expanding, and you figure we only started this April 19th and we're already at the end of May, and how many times we've advanced already and we've gotten some things changed. So again, it's just one more we're trying to reach program leads, assistant program leads, so that they can get information out. And we're getting there. It is a slow, painful process, but we're getting there. And hopefully, we're so far ahead right now of where we actually thought we'd be in January, that's a good sign for phase 4 and of course phase 5, which means overnight trips, which everybody wants to know about, and also in regards to meeting in person indoors, which would really affect when the heat gets too much, and then also with rod building and things like that. So things are moving along. I don't know. The last call was a little bit, it's interesting. We have to go off the Johns Hopkins tracker. And, I've been tracking the variances on that. South Dakota, by the way, last Monday was at 1,578%. So again, there's some other stuff going on, but that's who we have to follow for the time being. And then it'll start switching over as far as the vaccination rates for states. And then from there, it'll become crossing state lines. So the folks who are in other state lines right now, who have been very patient, and it's hard because Illinois is affected with this, with Missouri, and definitely with Arkansas. When you've got a place that's 20 miles further than another place to go, and you can't cross state lines. So we're getting there. Some positive things are happening, and it's just a little bit, just one step in front of the other one. So, but anyway, so we had caddis on the list today, and I will tell you, it did work well this weekend, and I was doing some caddis, as well as I was doing hopper dropper. I was fishing near Mick, and he's like, "What do you have on there?" And I said 3, because I hadn't tried that, and I heard Suntow talking about 3, and I thought, I'm gonna try 3 flies on here. And so I was happy with that. On Sunday, it produced even better. I had 2 doubles, So that I had one take a middle fly and one take the back fly, and the next one they took the top fly and then the middle fly, all three on dries. So the thing I love about bluegill and even some of those feisty bass is they will start coming up. I know we talk so much about trout, but they're just fun. And when the temperatures start to rise, bluegill are still fun, where trout tend to sink a little bit. So I'll start off with doing a caddis, and then we can kind of talk about some different variations on that if you want, or we can just kind of ad lib. So
Yeah,
I'm
Amy.
using a dry fly on fire hole. You guys, I'm gonna switch over. Yeah, helps if I switch the camera, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure would.
Hang on.
Maybe I spent the afternoon
Yeah.
out on Fontanelle Park fishing bluegill. I was getting one on every cast today.
I was surprised because I went almost in what I would consider kind of the heat of the day for us. So I got done with all the yard work and all the other stuff and went out probably 11:45 noon. So you would think that's not, you've missed the hour, right? And the lake that Dave turned us on to, it was still good. And I fished all the way until my last one. And I kept at 3 o'clock, that was supposed to be the cutoff. And then by 3:15, I'm like, okay, fine, I'm walking back. What I mentioned before everybody jumped on, I actually got stopped with Missouri Department of Conservation and asked for my license. And, we just need those reminders. The states vary, but it is a good reminder as far as getting your licenses and just making sure you're current on an ID. In Missouri, we have an exemption that if you're 65% disabled, you do not need a Missouri license. And also if you're 65 years old, you do not need one. I would still recommend carrying a photo ID and different things, but definitely check your state, and especially because we're crossing state lines and doing things. It's good to be current on it. I did not get a ticket. I had all my stuff. And the guy,
and you're not 65 yet either.
I am not. I have a little bit to go on that.
And you're not,
but
and
no,
you don't live in Illinois, so that doesn't apply to Illinois.
no. And I think I've told you guys probably the story. So one of the times when my dad was fishing and I didn't have a tag, I was little and putzing around in the water. I used to like to make the little crawdad dams and catch tadpoles and do all that other stuff. And we were at a park and my dad got stopped and they were saying, well, she's baiting for you. She's getting bait. And again, that's kind of a funny comment to a fly fisherman. But anyway, by me playing in the water, it was something as far as my dad got a ticket out of it. I don't know. Anyway, it was a really weird situation. The other time is my dad did travel, and we had property in Illinois, but my dad did travel over to a friend's private, well, it was a public lake, and got stopped there, and he was told over and over, no, you don't need anything, you don't need anything, don't worry about it, they never stop anybody. Well, sure enough, on that day they did, and my dad got a ticket in Illinois too.
Probably saw his
You guys have
license
heard me
plates.
tell stories, I guess, but yeah, and you guys have heard stories about, with my dad, it really. So somebody who does all the artwork for Missouri Department of Conservation can still get a ticket. So I'm thinking we might want to just make sure, just to kind of refresh folks, of what your state areas are. We can cover, licenses, daily tags, and things like that when we get to program conversations. But yeah, definitely, if as citizens, make sure you got your stuff on you. So, all right, so I'm starting with a dry fly hook, and I did a couple different. So this is just kind of the shortcut version on a caddis. Show you there. Am I seeing that there a little bit? And then the traditional caddis has more of your hackle underneath. And again, you're going for purpose of this is going to sit on the top. The difference is then when we look at a crackleback or Griffith's gnat, where it's all the hackle underneath and then has no deer hair or elk hair. My preference on tying with caddis is actually deer hair. And the reason is just because of the break strength with your thread, and then also pulling through. Pardon me. It's the bug bite that I have in my ear. And in case you guys missed that story, I got nailed yesterday right in the ear by something at Dave's Lake. That's what we're going to refer it to as Dave's Lake. But it was beautiful. What, 7 acres, Dave?
I'm
Something?
not sure how many acres it is.
But
It's
and it's
nice.
very accessible. Yep. And it's a stocked lake too, but it's not, it's trout, or not trout, bluegill, bass, crappie, carp. I don't remember what else,
Oh,
but it's a catch and keep. So I'm starting off this one, and I'm just going to do a simple variation on, and I have to watch this. I was doing this earlier and I actually totally nailed my camera by coming over. I usually know kind of how much dubbing, but then when you're working in a little bit more confined area. So this is just a dubbing mix. It's kind of a poly, has a little bit of a flash to it too. And then a little bit of kind of the hare's ear. I'm definitely concentrating on the shape of, so far as the finish shape, can come back in with my threads. If you wanted to add in more, and you can see it's kind of wire, it's definitely going to be kind of that buggy look. Most of my caddis that I tie, I don't add in a hackle. And so I just do the cheap shortcut of it. I like it. I think it fishes well. And it's something that I like the performance of it. I don't see that the hackle gives you a little bit more buoyancy, but it's not something, it actually, if you misjudge on your hackle length, it can actually inhibit a little bit as far as the movement. So that's kind of the difference as far as going with a little bit longer hackle. And so I've got the deer hair out. You guys have seen me use this quite a bit as far as the Primo. I like it. Comes in all these different shades, colors, everything else. And then also when you're looking at it, this is kind of one that has a lot of under fur. You know, it's going to be a lot of clean before you get it ready to tie in. But it's a different, it comes anything from red. I think it's great. It's kind of better than a value pack. You look at this one and it was $14. So it's about 14 inches basically of deer hair. Now this is not for spinning necessarily. And then you look at elk hair, and this is cow elk, and this one was almost $4. So it kind of depends on where you are on the budget, but then also how it performs. So in what I've been doing with the deer, I think it has a little bit more of the buoyancy to it. It's a little bit more of a hollow fiber. The elk sometimes is better, and I'll actually use that more for the muddler minnows and some other ones where it doesn't need as much air. I want the air to trap kind of in the tubes basically of the hair. But you can see on this one, lots of under fur to it. So lots of cleaning that happens. But when people talk about caddis, they typically are referring to an elk hair caddis. And so you think, okay, I can only use elk hair. Use it, try it. If you don't like the way that it attaches to your hook. So that's one of the big things. So I've kind of grabbed off a section of it and got this in my fingers, and I'm going to roll it. And now I'm coming in with my under. And the reason why I like this on the deer hair is because rarely do I need to then go and take it through a comb to get out more of the under. Where on the elk, I'm going to be combing this, and then I'm going to be pulling out the brush, and I'm getting out a lot of this under fur. And a lot of it has to do with when you purchase it, but because of when it was harvested. So this, going to throw it into the stacker. Got it in there. I'll try not to shake the camera everywhere. And we've talked about this before, especially in kind of the Midwest area, and how dry the air gets here and how things get static. And so again, it's like stuck in there. Just if you put static guard on your fingers as you get ready to tie, not lotion, because lotion's going to clump up everything and you're going to have a hard time maneuvering it. But if you just spray your hands with static guard, it typically will help in, I don't know what happened there. It will usually help from everything kind of climbing up your hands and sticking. So the big thing is the positioning on this. So if you hold it like this is going to be, it's going to tie in and it's going to go way too long back here. I don't want that kind of wing. I'm actually going to restack that because I'm not thrilled with it. So I come in, I'm going to clamp it right there, right where it was out of the end. And then I'm going to reposition. I'm going to measure it. And right now I want it to only come to about the hook bend. So I'll come in with my fingertips. And I've heard this a lot as far as people with bigger hands. And they're saying, I can't cut it like this and I can't. So you can roll your fingers forward right there. I'm going to come in straight and move out of the camera there because I really don't want it all over my desk. And now I'm going to roll my fingers back, come in, and I'm creating that little kind of dandelion, little puff in. I'm really anchoring. These are anchoring wraps. Okay, so tight on here, and there's my caddis. I can come back in, and just so I don't lose my work on here, I might come in and roll it with a half hitch just to hold it in place. And now I know everything's kind of secure. I can come back because I trust the whip finish. And so with this, you can either whip finish in front, up where your eye is, whip finish, and be done. And that's it. I mean, as far as a caddis, you can come back in, smash out if you want the wings to a different, you want them to lay more out to the side. Let me turn that a little bit. And can you see where, so your hackle shows underneath? And if you've got some random ones that don't, so as I turn it over, and you can see all that hackle. So I've got red out here. I did that earlier. Your hackle's exposed. But if you've got a few errant ones, you can come in here and kind of clean it up a little bit. But that's it. So caddis is super easy. It's probably one of the more effective flies because from this base of being able to build it, you can do a ton of different things. And we've talked about as far as with the stimulators and a lot of different. So again, you look at the front of this, that's caddis flare, right? You've just added in tail on this. Then you get to some bigger ones. Again, caddis all day long, but now I've added on legs. And then you can see on the bottom, as far as that little bit of color on there, when people talk about, oh, it was a caddis hatch or a trico hatch, and you're kind of going, I don't know. Look for something like this. If it's a black fly hatch, you just pull out a caddis that's made in a darker color. But it's universal, works on tons of different waters, and it's rather simple to do. The biggest part is trying to figure out when you're positioning the hair is to roll your fingers back and then tie it in. Lots of folks want to get it all in place and then cut the hair. And we've seen this, and I was telling Mick, I did a class on Friday with the game changer. And the funny thing is when you do that and you start cutting, it's like the point of no return. And so when you get, I'll switch over and do a red thread. And so what happens is, just to show you from, if you've got your deer hair and it's all prepped and you put it on here and you haven't done that little motion to just kind of roll your fingers, first off, all your thread is kind of clumped up. Then you've got a lot of extra material out in the way. And I'm not going to fully, so I roll this open, that clears a lot of that under hair. When you kind of flare it like a little fan, then put it back together and then throw it in your stacker. Pull out your stacker and it's horizontal, grab right here and you're done. So now if I were just to tie this in, look at that mess. I got to cut all the way through that. So that's one of the things too, as far as the advantage of pulling this off, pull it back. It just takes a couple of times as far as practicing it, measure it, pinch your fingers over, roll your fingertips forward, then cut as close as you can. So I'm like right on the skin. Now I want to come in and there I have my caddis head. So simple, quick tie. In that, you can do a lot of different things in regards to adding legs to it, which we talked about last week as well. So with the legs, I'm going to mash down basically just almost less than an eye length, but you can see how that kind of flattens out. So it lays a little bit more flat, got some stragglers out there. And I like, I tend to like these kind of legs. Okay, so the grizzly legs, they come in their kind of micro size is the way they're listed, as opposed to the grizzly and some of the other styles that are more flat. So the difference on the legs here, as you can see, they're just kind of little tiny, they're really small, little strips. And I can pull off one strip of this versus, let me show the other kind of legs. So here's a different style leg, and this is what, when, again, if you wanted to add something to it. But these legs, again, still marked as far as, you know, kind of legs, and you go, okay, but look at how they're larger, they're great, they're extremely flat, and they're much more for trailing on maybe some streamers and things, as opposed to this, because they won't give you the same lie. And so on the legs, we can come around, I'm going to go around my thread, and then I'm just going to bring my thread up kind of at that 45 degree. It's right at me. And so I'm going to give it one wrap here, one wrap there, and it keeps that X of the leg. So I don't have to go back then and really fight the legs. On the other side, I'm going to come in, same thing, up and over, and wrap it around. So I've completely wrapped it like that. Come down, and I'm going to position it right on the side. So there it goes out, go one in the back, go one in the front, and there's my X. And so I'm not fighting the legs, which a lot of times too, as far as, you know, adding in. And then I just come in, trim them up. On this one, I can just go straight ahead and just do the whip finish. I'm just going to clear those legs, so come up over the top, clear them both, and then drop it off, and I'm done. So these are a minute fly when you get going, and if you have everything out and prepped ready. If you're looking for it, then it's going to take you 5 minutes. So that's the extent of caddis. That anybody have any questions?
Looks good.
They're effective. That's what I was using yesterday or on Saturday, Mick. That was
Okay.
one. And then on Sunday when I went back, and here even see how these kind of scrunched around the front on me or the underneath. So you can always go in and not, you can shorten those up. That's not a problem at all. So if it slides on you, or the deer hair, that was actually one I wasn't planning on using. I would have done more hackle and things on that, but I like, because the legs stay in the position you want them. And if you wanted to come in and add a little bit more finish, and it just doesn't look like a finished fly for you. So of course, you know, you can always add in some of your dubbing and kind of thicken up that thorax. But you don't necessarily need it to keep your legs laying in the place where you want them. But you can come back in and do that. Yeah, really give it, and again, we refer to kind of hot spot. So it's a version of a caddis because of the wings.
The royal caddis.
Yeah.
It is, there's the yellow Sally is the one, and what do you call it, Carl? It's like the yellow Mustang Amy Sally or whatever you call it. I don't even know what, he made up a total different name. He did actually caddis for us one night too. So it's, again, for bluegill in this time of year and things, they're durable. They can take a lot of hits as well, and you can effectively fish a second fly off of that. It's not necessarily so buoyant. You could add foam in and do a whole ton of different kind of variations on. So then I'll really mix things up.
An egg hook.
Yeah. an egg hook, but look what I'm going to do to it. So white or red? Let you guys, okay, white. Nobody's spoken. Nobody knew what I was talking about.
Oh, I did. I did exactly what.
They were laughing on Friday. They had it was a small group from Colorado, and they wanted to see some of the game changers. So I was doing that with them, and I actually switched up, and I was using a different color thread, and they're like, "Wait, what happened to your white thread?" So it was kind of funny. So this one, again, just on different, if you're just kind of like, man, I just want to tie something different, or you have that brain lock on tying of just going, I'm going to try something. So this is more on the merger, but where this comes into play is the shaping and what you're doing with. So I'm coming around more on the bend on this. I'm going to add in on this one a little bit of the dubbing. This one's one you're just gonna look and go, wow, this. But it has the characteristics of an emerger, and yet it fishes more like the dry fly. Yeah, sorry. You guys, are you fearing for your life here as I go around trying to get my dubbing? That is probably.
Amy, were you on the marathon this weekend?
I was not. I was fishing this weekend. I just took the whole time off. I read all the comments. Apparently it was just amazing.
The bar emerger that they tied is just exactly what you're talking about. And in fact, that's what, let's see. Yeah, Bob Lindquist tied it. And he said that the research behind it, they were fishing the Delaware, and they saw that the fish were doing a porpoise, and they couldn't figure out what they were taking. They did a lot of research, and they found out that they were taking fish in this just below the surface. So they developed this fly, this bar emerger, and it's been very effective. I've used it in Colorado and all over the place.
One of the times, and again, because I just like seeing if they'll work and what fish will go after, and so I've incorporated foam into this because the deer hair or elk hair won't hold it enough. It's too heavy of a hook, and so I've actually incorporated. Here I got a little scrap. This isn't what I normally use. I actually use the cylinders, but if I were coming in with this, and so I take a foam and I'll fold it and go this direction. And I'm going to come in and not create it. It's not going to be a post on there, but it does help me on the indicator. And so I can see this one, and I can still see to get everything cleared in here. And now coming in, and you can trim this as small as you want. I did it very oversized. And you can put the foam in at the end, or you can tie it in ahead of time and then just de-ramp, just with smashing down that foam, and then come in, and you're able to also add in the same as far as have a little bit of your hair coming off the back. And I have my largest brown trout today is off of one of these crazy things that I just made up. And I don't understand, except that the deer hair or the elk hair helps keep it up, but the foam gives that little bit more of just, and you can track it. And so you're right, they do. They just come, and it's a full, like, what are they doing?
What is
and
this?
I've used, and again, when you're using a cone, it has, sorry?
What is this that you're tying? Name of a fly?
It's just kind of a made up one. It's a made up one, but it's on more of an egg hook. I mean, as far as, but John was on the call on Saturday, and he probably knows if there's an official name that kind of takes the same style that they made up for the Catskills.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bar emerger.
Yep. So on this,
Spell that.
BARR emerger.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
and so again, coming in real tight, and this is where it helps of not having to come in and clip any is being able to just figure out. And so you can see on there, and again, the yellow is extremely exaggerated. If I were using more of the cone or cylinder, and again, it's just for a little bit more buoyancy going, but gives you kind of an idea. But again, you've got that emerger style so that the rear end is hanging subsurface and then the top is staying more buoyant.
Yeah,
And
Amy,
you
that
can
foam,
treat this with gink, and then
the foam almost makes it look like an
Sorry?
air sac.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
and
they actually
that's
do time
where,
like
so
that.
the white stuff.
Yeah, the white
Yeah,
would,
I've done it with the white bead,
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I've
so
seen them
you have,
tied with
in fact,
the,
let's see if I was fishing. I've got everything else here. But I actually started trying to cleaning up my flies. But the other thing, like, yeah, the foam post on something where your parachute.
Yeah.
And then you just use the foam instead. But that's a scrap. I like the Rainey's post, and it's an assorted size pack. You can get them in all different colors as well. I have one that's this is kind of fun because it comes in green, yellow, and orange.
Mhm.
And so that actually helps you on the fly size that you're using, but they're already pre-cut cylinders. So, and then I have black. I mean, you can make these, I mean, again, here's one of them from a couple of weeks ago. So you can do a lot of different things. The reason why I like this on, and I've done it with the white, and I really like the way the white does, because you're right, it does look like that air bubble, but it does not give the weight of a glass bead in front, or any kind of bead.
Amy, what mill is that foam?
This one was just that cheapy, that the Walmart one that has sticky on both sides. But I would say you can go with anything from this one's a 2 mil.
Okay,
It wasn't the same as what I used, but it looks like it's about the same diameter. This one's a little bit less than that. And these are the sheets, and these are kind of the Gucci foam, because these are the ones you buy at the fly shops and stuff. And I have no problem with that. There's also, Walmart is a gold mine, and the dollar stores and a lot of other things for foam.
Yeah.
One thing that I found on is sometimes the less expensive foams, and I don't know if it's more on just trying it or not. And we've kind of covered this a couple times with the hoppers, but if you're just going straight with foam, let me see if I don't even have, if you're going here, let's go with the monster. Can you guys see this hook okay?
Amy, here's what I use to make them. I don't know if you can see that. That's
Yep.
just a leather
Yeah, you
punch.
punch them. Yep.
Yeah.
So you don't have to buy them in the cones then to do that. But I think here's my hopper box on here. And you can, on your dollar store foams, what's really great is, like, some of them are almost too thick. You can't hardly, they're just very hard to tie with. Some of the other ones, so they come in packs, and they actually have adhesive on the back. And that's where you can get that layering, Terry, where you can make them, you just would unstick and stick, and then you just make them together. And then, like what John was showing, as far as like a hole punch, or again, I have other punch kits, but not for the cylinders. I have a brand new drill that I got for my birthday, so I'm going to figure out how to use that for making hole punches. But there's, and
Go down to Home Depot.
one. Yeah.
Go down to Home Depot, get yourself some brass tubing, and cut it off.
Okay.
With a plumber's cutter, the thing that they go around copper pipe with. Put it in your drill with a file and
Yep.
just sharpen it, and it'll work like a champ. 30-06
That's-
shells work
See,
really
that's
good
what
too.
I figured. Yeah, I got a few of those, Brent. But you can see it's really fun, especially if you're tying at a location and it's just purely for fun with folks. Sometimes even just the eye-catching stuff. So the glitter it's not going to be something that's going to, it'll hold up for you. And it'll actually, who knows, probably again, bluegill season around here. The one thing I would recommend with this, first off, you'll wear it because it does come off on you. And then the other thing, and we've talked about this a lot, is some sort of seal, not necessarily UV. UV might eat through what you have on here, but if you just take the Sally Hansen's, and this is just the top coat stuff, and then after you've created your fly, and it'll give a little bit of seal, it does not create more weight. So if you're creating hoppers and you just want these crazy ones just for the fun of it, it'll work well, and it does not decrease the buoyancy on your hopper. The other thing is with foam, the less expensive, sometimes to have more, they're not as dense. There's a lot of different things on that too. So you can create your hopper with the foam. And again, like how we were tying it in before, again, treating it with some sort of sealant, because what you're doing is closing up the cells of the foam so that it can't absorb water. And that's kind of a key to hoppers that stay up versus hoppers that are supposed to be hoppers and they don't. And again, tried it many times on a lot of different things, and still hands down that top coat with Sally Hansen's is kind of the best that I've seen for just sealing, just a quick run over, and it'll at least make it a little bit more waterproof, and that foam will hold up better. I don't know why I put this big hook in here. I got distracted. What would you guys like to see on this great big giant hook? So any other questions? These are great, Terry.
Can you make the bee that stung you in the ear?
Yeah, I probably could. So that's another foam one. Smart aleck. Or I could do
I'm only kidding.
the cute little caterpillars. Yeah, so anyway, I do have kind of fun bee, and I used it this weekend and it did okay too. It's made out of one of those black the foam things too. But yeah, I couldn't see what it was, and then smacking it with like fish hands, so then I think I like attracted more stuff to it.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's even getting the Benadryl treatment. Yeah, it even has my lymph node underneath it, behind it, swelled up. When
Oh wow.
I know Steve asked me if I needed, he asked me if I needed a tissue, and then the next question is, where are we fishing next weekend? You know. So
Do you need medical attention?
so I know, yeah, and then I look and go, no, it's not bleeding that much. Was it? You know, spit on it or rub dirt on it, and you're good.
Got some duct tape.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to tie that bee. I know I'm not going to tie that bee yet until I go and find him again. But I will tell you, it must be a Missouri thing, I think. And people say they got bit by a bee, and you just want to go, yeah, doesn't happen. You get stung by bees, but I don't know what it was. It hurt like hell. I'll just tell you that. So I'll send you a bee, Margie. But
Yay.
I'm not going to try to tie because Lois has a really cool pattern, and she sent it to me on YouTube. And she's like, do you think you can tie this? I get those all the time from people. They're like, do you think you can tie that? I'm like, yeah, okay. But no, I'll do my little caterpillar one because this guy's cute. And pretty soon we're going to get to those little tree, those tree worms that fall out, those little bagworms. So you can see this is a different shaped, or the bagworms, whatever they are. They're ugh. So that's a weird hook, right? So
Yeah.
What's kind of fun with this one is this is a great one because you can do a whole different array of colors. And so if you're one of those that's easily distracted, you're just kind of like, I'm tired of tying caddis, I want to try something different. So with this, you can use with neon colored threads, and it's a simple, you can add a chenille to this, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to go all the way back, and I'm going to do kind of exaggerated as far as all the way past where the nose of the vise is. And then I'm going to stop that for a minute. And you can add in, let's see if I have it within grabbing distance here. So we're going to do orange on here because I didn't see my chenille this color. So I've just got a light little chenille. And this one is an ultra, and so it's a little bit smaller. And keep in mind, as far as the last thing tied in is the first thing wrapped. So as I'm putting this in and you think, okay, wait, am I tying this and then I'm going to wrap hackle over? So you don't want this in first, because my last thing on my wrap is going to be my hackle. So I'm going to grab. Did that make sense as far as where you get halfway through a fly and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I forgot to add that in. So if you can kind of train yourself as far as the last thing, the last thing out is the first thing tied in. So I've got my hackle right here coming in at 45 underneath, just wrapping. And all I'm doing is just getting that in place. And then I'm going to come back. And I love these because I just think they're cute. And again, you can do them in any color and they are effective. It's a little bit bigger hook too. So I'm going to come in under my chenille. I don't strip off. You can strip off if you want to, but this is just, again, a kind of a quick little tie. Go forward again, mash it down. The one thing is I don't want to change the shape of it in regards to the hook. That's what plays so well. And then this is just a one touching wrap. So up and over, and every one of them kind of creates that segment to it. I've seen folks who have just taken a marker and just one side, and I'll show you what the difference is with that, because it is kind of cool. And for all you guys who laugh at me about my Sharpies, so I'm only hitting just on that one side.
Oh, see, that's cool.
And I kind of lost it on that one there. It comes back around. But it adds a little bit more than just a straight chenille. Gives a little bit of shadowing to it. There it comes up.
It's like a
Okay,
Cheshire
I'm gonna
cat
finish
in
it.
a
I'm gonna come
worm.
back.
A Cheshire cat.
I know. So I'm gonna come up underneath and cinch that in. And when I do this motion, again, I'm just trying to imagine that I'm getting my thread as close as I can, ignoring all the material, but as close as I can to the hook chain. Always cutting kind of on top to get that out of the way. Now coming in, and my wraps can follow almost that same segmenting. And when those little tree worm things start falling, yeah, start putting some of these on. And bass will come out and they will hammer them. And there you go. So it has that curve to it. And again, come in, cinch it in again. Nice and tight. I've always said hackle has a mind of its own. And I find that I'll just come in, roll it as a half hitch. It also helps me get any errant hairs going back the direction I want to, and it clears that eye a little bit. So I'll add this, and it's just more for my preference. But then when you come in and you do your finish, and if I wanted this to be a black head now, or if I wanted this neon, and so I can actually build this head while I'm doing the whip. So I can come in, then drop it off. And there you go. There's your little inchworm guy. These are actually kind of real fun, just from, again, I've got like a whole row, and they go from the glow, like this bright green, all the way through almost a black. And you can get a mile on your hackle too, because you can just keep doing these. And I've still got a full enough to do a whole nother one.
What's that hook, Amy?
This one is this. Can you see it okay?
Drop it down a little. I can't see the number. There you go. 1770. Okay. That was a good year.
Yep. And this is a size 10. And so I've got everything from size 10, and I have an 8 in this, and I have a 14 in this. But the 10, it's kind of a go-to. I mean, there's a lot of times where you do not need to drop to, you know, the microscopic. If you're just messing around and seeing what they're hitting, the other thing is, you know, put this on. You can fish this on a heavier leader. You don't have to, if you're on a 7X, of course, you want to drop it down. But if you have a 5X or you're trying to use up the last part of your leader, not that I've ever done that before, throw on one of these bigger and you'll get a little bit more mileage out of it, and you won't have to stop and put on a whole new leader or tippet. But I like those. 25 hooks. It's about $6. I don't know if the one, Mick, that you use, I don't know if they have that shape. That might be some good information if we can.
Yep.
But I've been, and Firehole doesn't make that one. The only thing is you want to go with the micro or smaller chenille on there too. So there you go. You guys got the whole grab bags of flies tonight. And all the different color threads. So I do not want to hear any crap about white thread. Oh. Anybody have anything? Nothing?
I could try to,
No.
oops.
Oop, what'd you do?
You can even send it after, Mick. I was just thinking with your guy that you use, it's such a great price on hooks.
There's one of those two that Sun Tao was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I just got, I ordered the material. What's he call that? What kind of stuff is that rubber that he uses?
The squirmy worm stuff.
Squirmy wormy. Yeah, I just got a bunch of it in from Jay Stockton yesterday. So I'm gonna try some of them.
Yeah. They're fun to tie. It's
Yeah.
the hardest thing that I've had with that is after you've wrapped all the squirmy worm towards the eye and then trying to lock it without it trying to unravel.
Oh, yeah.
That is by far the hardest that the only thing I could think of is how he showed you how you, like, while you wrap it, you pinch with your thumb, then your forefinger back forth.
Yeah.
That's how you lock it in too, where
Yeah.
you pinch with your thread too to get a couple wraps in to hold it.
Yeah.
Best that I've seen. I probably have to rewatch the video to see how he did it.
Where is that video?
I need to put it on YouTube. I do have it. I
Okay.
just haven't figured out how to put it on YouTube. I've tried several times. It's just
No,
not
it's easy.
okay. It's
Yeah.
being me.
If you need any help, give me a call. I'll walk you through it. I've got
Okay.
I've got 2 YouTube channels that I.
Oh,
that I
that's right. You
publish.
do. Okay.
Yeah, so.
So, and anybody who missed what we're talking about, and it's kind of funny that we're tying in squirmy worms, but Santao was on last week. And so he was showing, and it was funny because when he said, well, I've got time, I'll do a crane fly. And I was thinking crane fly, like with the knotted pheasant, you know, legs and all this other stuff. And no, he pulls out and it's a larvae. It's just, but it's a great pattern. I'm not finding any of the shell back that he used on this, but I'll give you kind of an idea. But he uses a material that is squirmy worm, which is funny because we kind of laugh at that. And then, you know, when people talk about, oh, I used a squirmy worm, and we want to turn our nose up at it. But this stuff is, so from here where you can see on the camera, I can go like this, and this is now 3.5 feet. So it's crazy how this is so stretchy. You definitely can get your money's worth out of it, but kind of laying it in, and it wants to jump on you. This is actually not one I would start with a participant as like a new fly going, oh, we're going to tie some squirmy worms, because they're going to hate this material. It falls out of your hands. It's kind of slippery. It has a little bit of oil to it. But if you hold it in, kind of keep it in that 45, and then as you're positioning, and then you're see how it's like wanting to go, and you're kind of trying to layer it in, and then you can come back, but it wants to move all the time. And so even when people are saying, oh, a squirmy worm, you're like, well, it takes a minute to get. And so with that, even just of keeping it. Now it'll stay and it won't break. And this is the difference between buying a Walmart material or using old, let's say a bass lure and cutting off the pieces. Normally, if you were cinching this down and you were using old material off of a lure, it's actually going to cut on you. You can't, it doesn't work that way. But now when you come in and it's taking over these segments and building that, boom, and see how it wants to jump. And this one isn't real good. I would just good at all, but it kind of gives you that idea on how it creates that segmenting of that worm. And then what Mick showed even, so then you're pulling the shell back over the top and it creates a beautiful larvae. Who would have thought we would say that about, but see, then you let it go and look what happens. It's like crazy. It reminds me of trying to tie with a mixture of like slime and something else that the kids would play with.
Yeah.
Because it just wants to go, it wants to go everywhere. And so that's what I was saying is it's not really a beginner, when, as much as we laugh about, squirmy worms, it has its own, it has a mind of its own. But again, there's a lot of bang for your buck in the little packs. And I don't remember which one I use Spirit River and I don't remember what his brand was.
Hairline.
That he's a go-to on. Yeah, Hairline, of course, because he reps for them. But it's definitely worm looking. And it was beautiful for a bug.
I'm gonna try
But
it
again,
on the
same kind of
5th.
hook. You can use a lot of different. Yep. Outstanding. All right, guys. Well, I have nothing. Anybody have anything they'd like to see is next weekend is Memorial Day weekend,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Next Monday. Okay, so let's do a quick poll. How many of you guys are in town or out of town or want to do something on that Monday night? Or I guess we first have to ask our host. Mick, are you going to be in town on Monday?
Yes, I am. And I
Memorial Day
actually
weekend?
I actually got to work
Okay.
on Saturday too. So I will host it on Monday. If you want to call in, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll be out of
All
town.
right, I guess okay.
I'll be here. I may
Anybody
go
else?
fishing, but I'll be here.
Okay. Well,
Me
let's
too.
plan for it. I just think it's easier, especially with Memorial Day. Sometimes people like that to be able to just see each other. So
Yep.
I'm good with that. Any suggestions? Anybody have anything they want to see, don't want to see? And then we have to play where in the world is Roger?
Yeah.
He's on a 2-month RV trip now. And his first stop was in Heber Spring, Arkansas. So now we just got to figure out where he's going because he hasn't given anybody his layout.
Blue
Any-
on the little red.
Any flies at all? Yeah,
Anybody
he's
got
gonna
any
go
good
on the little- I
recipes?
reckon
Anybody got any good recipes for dubbing wax?
for dubbing wax,
Yeah,
I've heard the toilet rings.
like making your own.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I've heard too, Mick, but I've just never been too successful with that. I tried some of the concoctions I read online and I wound up with a mess.
I also use chapstick.
Yeah, I've used that. Yeah.
Yeah, chapstick. I have Wopsy. It's kind of interesting because you sure don't ever want to touch it.
Yeah.
You just want to get it right to your thread and actually have as little contact as possible. But that'd be a good one to research the best dubbing waxes.
Yeah, the reason I ask is the guys this weekend on the marathon, both the Catskill tires were using dubbing wax every time they dub something. And most people I know don't use dubbing wax, but these guys all do. So I've never used it. I thought I'd give it a try.
I would definitely suggest as far as so I have various ones, but I like the Wopsy.
The Wopsy?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe I'll give them a shot.
It's something where, so I have one that's a mess. You can't even see it. It's classroom one that when, in person. And so you pass this one around the table.
Yeah.
And what I'll say is that you can remind people not to touch it. And first off, you run into the thread and I always tell people you'll have it on your hands. It'll drive you crazy because you can't get it off.
Can't get it off.
But you just touch it on the thread. And if you think it's touching your thread and if you know it's touching your thread, then just trust it's there. It does make a huge difference without a doubt. And I would probably say 40-50% of the time I'll use it. But I also think a lot has to do with kind of hand care as well. So if your hands are real dry and you have no oil in your hand, then absolutely I would recommend a wax. If your hands are super dry and you just can't, so oh yeah, that's
Chapstick.
that's mine's under here.
I've been using
Chapstick is
it
great
for about 5 years.
It's the most reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chapstick definitely, and I think that keeps you from licking your fingers as well. Just in regards to if you can get in the habit of using the dubbing wax.
Well, the wax that I made with rosin and beeswax, I guarantee it'll keep you from licking your fingers. Yeah, it was like super glue. It was so sticky.
That's what I think with these other ones, the pre-made ones, and I'm just like, oh no.
I poured it in the tubes and I could not get the tubes to release it. They wouldn't go. They wouldn't work at all. So I've got about 6 of those large tubes full of wax that I can't get out.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. Well, that definitely won't be. Well, you can give us a recipe not to use. All right. Well, I guess we'll leave it as a to be determined on the fly next week. If anybody has anything that they would love to see or can't wait. Again, every once in a while with some of these guest hires, it's just a matter of when they're available. And so if that would change, then we would just push the fly to the next time. But I'll think on it and then I might spring it on one of you guys to tie. And I think Bob Betts, who's usually joined us too, he's gotten some, his camera is supposed to be arriving and then he had a different fly that he wanted to show us. And of course it's something like a green butt or green ass something. And so anyway, he's pretty comical. But who knows, we might have a guest hire as well.
Braided marabou tail, damsel midge.
Okay.
Sure. You gonna tie that one for us, John?
There's the tails.
Huh.
All right.
Yeah, I'll show you how to braid marabou.
It looks like you're our tire for next Monday.
All righty, I'll do a braided marabou. Actually, it's called a flicked damselfly.
Okay.
And it was developed by Mike Kelly.
We'll put you on the roster then.
Okay, I'll do it.
We'll have to call you off the water.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
And nothing but white thread, okay?
Okay, I can do that. I use white marabou.
All right. Well, everybody have a great week. Thanks for checking in this week. And we will see you next Monday. Mike, I will be seeing you a few times this week. John, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Yep, I will send you the link, John, for the call on Wednesday night as well.
Good.
Okay. Good night.
Good
All
night.
right. See you guys.
Night, all.
Thank you.